What if I told you that the difference between staying broke at 30 and building real wealth has nothing to do with how much money you make? I've watched people making $40,000 a year retire by 50, and people making six figures still living paycheck to paycheck at 45. The difference? What they did with their first $1,000 in savings. That first $1,000 is a test. Not about the money itself, but whether you understand how money actually works. Mess this up and you're setting a pattern that keeps you stuck for decades. Get it right and you're building a foundation that compounds into generational wealth. Here's what frustrates me about most financial advice out there. I scroll through Instagram and TikTok, and everyone's got a different answer for what to do with your first $1,000. One person says throw it all into crypto. Another says just park it in the savings account and call it a day, like that's the whole strategy. Someone else is pushing an investment app they're clearly getting paid to promote. And none of them are giving you the full picture of what actually matters at this stage. They're giving you one piece of the puzzle and acting like it's the complete solution. So I'm making this video to give you the actual playbook. No gimmicks, just the exact steps separating people who build wealth from those who stay stuck. My name is Matt, and on this channel, I break down personal finance, investing strategies, passive income streams, and wealth building tactics for regular people tired of being told they need six figures to start. I don't sugarcoat things, I don't sell courses, and I definitely don't tell you to hire a wealth manager for your first grand. If you want straightforward financial advice that works in 2025, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. Step 1. Foundation first. Don't touch that money yet. Most people blow it right out of the gate. They save their first $1,000 and immediately think about investments. Stock market, crypto, real estate crowdfunding, whatever the algorithm pushes that week. You want your money working for you. You've heard about compound interest and financial independence, and you're ready. But hold on. Before anything else, answer this. Do you have high interest debt? Credit cards charging 18%, personal loans at 15%, buy now, pay later schemes that seemed harmless until interest kicked in. If you've got debt over 6% interest, paying that off is mathematically your best investment. Pay off a credit card charging 18%, you're getting an 18% guaranteed return. Show me a stock guaranteeing 18% with zero risk. It doesn't exist. Let me introduce Jake. 28, works in marketing, makes $60,000 a year. Back in 2020, he saved his first $1,000. He was proud, and he should have been. Saving your first $1,000 takes discipline and sacrifice. But Jake had $3,500 on a credit card from pandemic spending. That card charged 19.99% interest, almost $700 a year just in interest. $700 going absolutely nowhere. Instead of paying off that card, Jake saw everyone on social media talking about index funds and Roth IRAs, so he opened a brokerage account and invested his $1,000. The stock market historically returns about 10% annually. Great, but Jake was paying 20% on his credit card. Every dollar he invested lost him 10 cents in net value because of that debt. Worse, in 2022, when the market dropped, his $1,000 shrank to $700. Meanwhile, his credit card balance grew because he couldn't afford more than minimum payments. He was paying interest on interest. Fast forward to 2025, Jake still has credit card debt. His original $1,000 investment is worth about $1,100 now, but he's paid over $3,000 in credit card interest over 5 years. $3,000 that could have been invested, growing, building his future. Instead, it went to the bank. This is the foundation first principle. You cannot build wealth on high interest debt. It's filling a bathtub with the drain open. Doesn't matter how much water you pour in. Your priority list is if you have debt over 6% interest, pay that off first. Not because it's exciting or feels like wealth building, but because mathematically it's the smartest move. Once that's handled, we move to step 2. Pause for a second. If you're thinking, okay, I don't have high interest debt, what's next? Keep watching. What I'm about to show you in step 2 is literally free money most people completely miss. If you skip this step, you're leaving thousands on the table.
Step 2. Maximize free money. The 401k matching secret. Debt handled. Now we talk about the closest thing to actual free money in personal finance. Most people walk away from thousands of dollars every year because they don't understand this. I'm talking about 401k employer matching. If you have a job offering a 401k with employer matching and you're not contributing enough to get the full match, you're literally refusing free money. Most employers match your contributions up to a certain percentage. The most common is 50 cents on the dollar up to 6% of your salary, but some match dollar for dollar. Say you make $50,000 a year and your company offers a 50% match up to 6%. If you contribute 6%, $3,000 a year, your employer adds another $1,500. That's a 50% instant return before it even grows in the market. Show me an investment guaranteeing 50% return the moment you put money in. It doesn't exist. And here's something most people don't realize. That match isn't just free money today. It's free compounding for the next 30 or 40 years. That $1,500 annual match, if it grows at 10% for 30 years, becomes over $26,000 just from the match alone. You're not just getting a 50% return, you're getting a 50% return that then grows exponentially over decades. Let me tell you about Marcus. 26. Works gig jobs, makes $55,000 when you add it all up. He landed a position with benefits in early 2023. Company offered dollar-for-dollar match up to 4%. If Marcus put in 4%, the company would double it. Marcus looked at his paycheck, saw 4% meant about $180 per check going to his 401k, and thought, I can't afford that right now. So he skipped it, said he'd come back later. Now here's what Marcus didn't understand at the time. That $180 per check he thought he couldn't afford, he was spending more than that on food delivery, streaming services he barely watched, and impulse purchases he forgot about a week later. It wasn't that he couldn't afford it, it was that he hadn't made it a priority. 2 years go by. Marcus finally starts contributing in 2025. But here's what he lost. Over those 2 years, he could have contributed $4,400 and his employer would have matched another $4,400. That's $8,800 total that could have been growing in his retirement account. Instead, zero. The company didn't hold that money for him. It's gone. You don't get to collect matching contributions from previous years. That $8,800, if left to grow for 30 years at 10% return, would become over $150,000. Marcus missed out on $150,000 because he didn't understand the importance of that match. And here's the brutal reality. Most companies have what's called a vesting period. This means you need to stay with the company for a certain amount of time before that matched money actually becomes yours. It's usually somewhere between 3 to 5 years. So not only did Marcus lose 2 years of free money, but he also delayed his vesting clock. Every delay costs you exponentially more than you realize in the moment. If your employer offers a 401k match, contribute enough to get the full match. Even if your paycheck is smaller. Even if you cut back on stuff, this is non-negotiable. This is the foundation of retirement planning and long-term wealth building. And if you're thinking, Matt, I'm young, I've got time. Let me stop you. Compound interest doesn't care about your timeline. Every year you wait is exponentially more expensive. The difference between starting at 25 and 35 isn't 10 years of contributions. It's hundreds of thousands at retirement because of compounding. If you're still watching, you're in the top 20% who actually take financial independence seriously. Most people click away because this isn't flashy. It's not overnight riches. But you're here because you understand real wealth building is a process. Smart, boring decisions that pay off massively over time. Now, step 3 is where things get interesting.
Step 3, invest in yourself, the highest ROI you'll ever get. Before you put a single dollar into the stock market, before you buy your first index fund or open a Roth IRA, there's one investment that will outperform everything else by a mile: investing in yourself. I know that sounds generic, but hear me out with real numbers. Meet Sarah, 28, data analyst, makes $60,000 a year. Back in 2020, when she saved her first $1,000, she had a choice: put it in the stock market hoping for a 10% annual return, or use it to learn a skill that could increase her income. Sarah chose door 2. She took that $1,000 and enrolled in an advanced data certification program. Cost $800, took 3 months to complete. Within 6 months of finishing, she leveraged it to negotiate a raise. 15% increase, $9,000 more per year. She spent $800 and immediately started earning $9,000 more annually. That's over 1,000% return in the first year. And it compounds because now her baseline salary is higher. Every future raise, cost of living adjustment, bonus is based on that higher number. Over her career, that single $800 investment will be worth hundreds of thousands in increased earning potential. Compare that to putting $1,000 in an index fund. After 1 year at 10% growth, you've got $1,100. After 5 years, $1,600. Great, but doesn't come close to the ROI of investing in a skill that increases your income.
In 2025, we're living in the most abundant time for learning new skills. You can learn coding, digital marketing, graphic design, video editing, AI prompt engineering, data analysis for less than a weekend vacation. Platforms like Coursera, Udemy, Skillshare, YouTube have courses from free to a few $100. But most people don't do it. Why? Because it's not passive. It requires effort. Showing up, doing the work, pushing through when it's hard. Way easier to dump money in an investment app and hope it grows. But people who build real wealth invest in themselves first. They understand their ability to earn money is their most valuable asset, and that asset can be developed, sharpened, leveraged. Investing in yourself doesn't just mean skills and certifications. It can mean starting a side business. Marcus, the guy who missed 2 years of 401k matching, finally started contributing in 2025. Then he took his next $1,000 and used it to start a side hustle. He'd always been into graphic design but never thought he could make money from it. He spent $200 on a professional logo design course, $300 on design software, and the rest building a basic portfolio website. Within 3 months, he landed his first client through a freelance platform, made $500 designing a logo and social graphics. Not life-changing, but proof of concept. Over the next year, he kept at it, nights and weekends, built his portfolio, got better, raised his rates. By end of 2025, Marcus was making an extra $1,500 a month from his side hustle. That's $18,000 a year in additional income. Eventually, this kind of work becomes passive income as you build systems and clients. He took that income and split it, half to his 401k, making up those 2 years he lost, the other half into a brokerage account. His initial $1,000 investment in himself turned into an ongoing income stream worth way more than any stock portfolio he could have started with $1,000. Here's my challenge. If you've got your first 1,000 saved, debt handled, you're getting your 401k match, take at least a portion and invest it in a skill, something that could increase your income, something opening doors, something giving you more control over your financial future. You can't control what the stock market does, you can't control inflation or interest rates, but you absolutely control how much value you bring to the marketplace. And the more value you bring, the more you get paid. Let's move into step 4. This is where we build the investment portfolio. I'm showing you exactly how to allocate that $1,000 across different asset classes to maximize growth while managing risk. Step 4. Build real wealth, the smart allocation strategy. You've made it to step 4. Debt gone, maxing 401k match, invested in yourself. Now the fun part, building an actual investment portfolio. But before throwing money around, understand this. Wealth building isn't about picking the right stock or timing the market or finding the next big thing. It's about consistent, disciplined allocation across asset classes that grow over time. Here's exactly what I would do with $1,000 starting today in 2025. First, make sure you have an emergency fund. If you don't have at least 1 month of expenses saved in a high-yield savings account, that happens before you invest anything. Not a regular savings account at a big bank paying 0.01%, a high-yield savings account, currently paying around 4 to 4.5% as of 2025. Online banks like Ally, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Amex or Personal Savings offer competitive rates. Not going to make you rich, but it's a safe place to park your emergency fund while keeping up with inflation. Why this matters? If you invest your entire $1,000 into the stock market and your car breaks down or you have a medical emergency or lose your job, you're forced to sell those investments at whatever the market price is that day. But if you've got an emergency fund, you can ride out volatility and let investments grow long term. Rule 1. Keep at least 1 month of expenses liquid in a high-yield savings account. For most people, that's between $1,000 and $2,000. Once you've got that baseline emergency fund handled, here's how to invest. But let's say you've got that emergency fund covered and have a clean $1,000 to invest. Here's my breakdown. $600 into a broad market index fund. If you're using a Roth IRA, which you should if you qualify, put that $600 into VTI or VOO. These ETFs track the total US stock market and S&P 500. Low cost, diversified, historically returning about 10% annually. Some people say go all in on growth stocks or individual companies, especially with AI hype in 2025. Maybe you get lucky and pick the next NVIDIA, but you're more likely to pick a company that underperforms or goes bust. With a broad market index fund, you're betting on the American economy. Historically, that's been solid. Next 100 into an international index fund like VXUS. This gives exposure to growth outside the United States, emerging markets, developed countries, and Europe and Asia. Why? Diversification. If the US market has a rough decade, it happens. You want exposure to other parts of the world potentially outperforming. Another 100 into a growth-focused ETF like QQQ, tracking the NASDAQ 100, heavily weighted toward tech. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla. These businesses dominate the economy now and likely will continue. More aggressive than broad market, but if you're young with a long time horizon, you can afford that extra risk for potentially higher returns. Next 100 split between real estate and dividend stocks. 50 into a real estate ETF like VNQ, giving exposure to REITs. This is investing in real estate without buying property. Benefits of appreciation and rental income without being a landlord. Other 50 into a dividend ETF like VYM or SCHD. These hold companies paying consistent dividends. Blue chip stocks like Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola. Not exciting growth companies, but they pay you cash every quarter. This is passive income in its purest form. Reinvest those dividends to buy more shares, which pay more dividends. Beautiful compounding machine. Last 100, play money. Buy individual stocks and companies you believe in. Maybe a tech stock you think is undervalued. Healthcare company working on breakthrough treatments. Energy company positioning for the future. This is where you take risks and learn by doing. Will you make mistakes? Yeah. Will some stocks go down? Absolutely. But you're only risking $100, and the education from actively managing a small portfolio portion is invaluable. Remember Sarah? After she got that raise in 2020, she started following this exact allocation strategy. Every month, she'd take a portion of her increased income and invest across these asset classes. Wasn't trying to time the market, wasn't chasing hot stocks, just consistently put money to work. Fast forward to 2025, Sarah has over 85,000 in investment accounts, on track to hit financial independence by mid-40s. It all started with that first 1,000 and a disciplined long-term approach. Compare that to Jake, still has credit card debt, still hasn't gotten serious about investing, basically in the same financial position as 5 years ago. Same guy, same income, completely different outcomes because of the decisions they made. This is the power of starting early, staying consistent, following a proven strategy. One more thing, if you're eligible for a Roth IRA, you need to use one. A Roth IRA lets you contribute after-tax dollars, then all growth and withdrawals in retirement are completely tax-free. You put in money already taxed, it grows for 30 or 40 years, and when you take it out, you don't owe the IRS a penny. Contribution limit for 2025 is $7,000 per year. If you're starting out, you're probably not maxing that. But even if you can only put in $1,000 a year, do it. That money grows tax-free for decades. That's step 4. Portfolio built. Now here's what actually matters most. Here's what we've covered. Your first $1,000 isn't just money, it's a foundation, a test of whether you understand how wealth is built in 2025. Step 1, foundation first. Pay off high interest debt before anything else. You cannot build wealth on expensive debt. Step 2, maximize free money. Get your full 401k employer match. This is the closest thing to a guaranteed return you'll find. Step 3, invest in yourself. Use money to increase earning potential through skills, certifications, or side hustles. Highest ROI investment you'll ever make. Step 4, build real wealth. Once the foundation is set, allocate across a diversified portfolio of index funds, real estate, dividend stocks. Stay consistent, stay disciplined, let compound interest work. Remember Marcus? He caught up. By 2025, 15,000 invested, side hustle running. He figured it out. That's what this is about. Not getting rich overnight, building habits, knowledge, and discipline to make smart financial decisions over and over until you look up one day and realize you've built something real. If you've got your first 1,000 saved or you're working toward it, you're ahead of most people. Most Americans have less than 500 in savings. The fact you're here watching a 20-minute finance video tells me you're serious. You're not looking for shortcuts. You're looking for the real path. Take action on at least one step this week. Pay off some debt, check if your employer offers 401k match, sign up for a course that could increase your earning potential, open a Roth IRA, something, because knowledge without action is just entertainment. Drop a comment below and tell me 3 things: which step you're tackling first, how old you are, and what city you're watching from. I love seeing where everyone's at in their financial journey. I read every single comment and reply to as many as I can. And if you want more content like this, real, no BS financial advice that works, hit that subscribe button. I put out videos every week breaking down investing, personal finance, and wealth building strategies. Your first $1,000 is the beginning of something bigger. Don't waste it. Build on it. See you in the next video.